module. In this module, we're going to try to understand what exactly are linked lists, how they're different from other data structures like arrays, and then understand different types of linked lists. So first of all, linked lists are ordered elements or ordered set of elements. Now arrays are also an ordered collection of elements, but the difference between the two is that arrays and linked lists are stored differently in the memory. Suppose I have an array of size 4. Now this array will be stored as contiguous blocks of memory in the main memory of the computer. This is the reason why we can access the first element or the second element or the nth element directly in the array, because if I know where the array is starting, I can compute the address of the third or the fourth element. But this is not the case in linked lists. In linked list, we have an ordered set of elements, but each element, first of all, each element has to be of the same type. Secondly, if this is my building block or building unit, then it will have some portion which tells me information and one portion which is going to tell me the location of the next element that I want to go from here. So if we look at the main memory of the computer, suppose this is where my first element of the linked list is stored. Now the second element need not be stored right after this. I can have one block of memory here which stores information about the second element, and this piece of information will tell me where the second element is if this is the first building block. So basically I will have something like one building block which has some information, and this part will point to another building block which has some information, and a pointer to the next one which will have some information, and a pointer to the next element, and so on. So we can see from here that they are not stored contiguously in the memory. This means that I can traverse from one element to the next element, but I cannot directly jump to the second element or the fourth element or something like that. I cannot directly calculate that address from the memory. I'll have to go linearly from the first element and start over to go to the next, or probably the nth element. Now let's look at the different kinds of linked lists that we can have. What we just discussed is called a singly linked list. So I have, say, 4 elements here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first element points to the second element points to the third points to the fourth. Basically, if I want to know what is the information stored in the third element, I'll have to go to the first element and then traverse till I reach the third element. I cannot directly access it. Now this is called a singly linked list because there is only one single link from first element to the second element. So if we notice, in this case, I can go from the first element to the second element, but I have no information to come from the second element back to the first element. There is no way in which I can traverse this list backward. So to come across, when we come across cases when we want to traverse the linked list both forward and backward, we use a style that is called doubly linked list. In a doubly linked list, this part which has the info is retained, and the other part which has the connections actually has 2 connections now. One is a forward connection like this one, and one is a backward connection. So between every 2 consecutive units of the linked list, there are now 2 connections. One is a forward connection and one is a backward connection. So between elements 2 and 3, I'll have a forward connection and I also have a backward connection, and similarly here. So now if I want to go to the third element, I can start from the first element, go on to the second with a forward connection, go on to the third with another forward connection. If I need to go back to the second element, I can simply take this backward connection and go back. So this is the second type of linked list, which is a doubly linked list. Now there's another type that we have, which is just a slight modification of these 2. It is called a circular linked list. In a circular linked list, The basic idea is that there is no beginning or end. It's circular. So if this is one unit, this is another unit, this is the third unit, I'll have a connection from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and from 3 back to 1. Now you can make a circular linked list as with single links or with double links. So it can be a single circular linked list or a doubly connected list. The only difference here is that you don't have a pointer called a head pointer or a tail pointer, because it does not really have any start or end. It's circular.